Please welcome Atlassian Head of Product Marketing, Strategy Collection, Monica Girolami.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to day 2 of Team. How's everybody doing out there? Good? Awesome. Woo! All right. I'm Monica Girolami, Head of Product Marketing for Strategy Collection, and I'm truly honored to be here with all of you here today. And I just want to start with a thank you. Thank you for being an Atlassian customer. I will be joined here in just a little bit by Bree Davies, our Head of Product, as well as one of our fabulous customers, Colton, from CNA Insurance, who's putting all of this together into practice. So let's dive in. Now, I'm guessing many of you are here because you agree that today, strategic planning is broken. Today, planning is static, it's siloed, it's slow. I mean, how many of you today have published a plan in January only to turn around in February and realize that it's outdated and you're reworking it mid-cycle? Or just trying to decipher the noise and the insight, where to find it. We've heard from many of you who have burned hours reconciling reports to measure that impact, only to find you can't really figure out what's driving that progress. And finally, how many of you in the audience just know that your strategy is truly disconnected from what your teams are prioritizing, but really struggle to operationalize that change? Well, you're not alone, and we've all lived it. But this is not the first time we felt that pain. I mean, think about it. Scientific management fixed inefficiencies. Lean fixed waste. And if we fast forward to the 2000s, agile and design thinking broke that cycle of rigid plans, making them adaptive and customer-driven. And now, as we enter the age of AI, hopefully that's not a surprise to any of you in the room here, but think about it. AI processes more data in a single minute than an entire planning department can handle in a year, meaning the problems that we face in this era aren't just bigger versions of the old ones. They're more complex. So how can we harness the value of AI and actually make it our strategic teammate? Well, that's where we welcome everyone to the era of living strategy. A new age of AI that demands strategic planning methodologies that are continuous, adaptive, and intelligent. The organizations that will win will think of strategy as a continuous loop through planning, execution, evaluation, and back again. What exactly does that mean in this new era? Well, let's unpack that. First, modern tooling that provides real-time visibility across what matters most, aggregating strategic goals, work, and people, along with investments. Second, you need the ability to see those insights through the noise, reprioritize investments, reallocate funds, and shift talent dynamically without derailing that execution. And third, alignment. You need to know that your teams are moving faster, but most importantly, faster in the right direction. And that's why we've built Strategy Collection. With Strategy Collection, leaders can continuously recalibrate priorities, measure impact, shift funds, and rebalance teams, all from a single connected platform. So your organizations can move faster, stay connected, as those conditions change. And with the help of Rovo in Strategy Collection, it provides those early warning signals and forward-looking guidance so leaders can choose the best path forward with clarity, not with guesswork. And that's the power of the teamwork graph, which transforms raw data into measurable outcomes by connecting every decision to real-time goals, work, budgets, and team capacity. Atlassian turns strategy into a system of work that you can run, measure, adapt, operationalizing your living strategy at scale. So now, to dive deeper into exactly how strategy collection will help you in this new era, I'd love to invite Bree Davies to the stage. Bree?
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you all again for the second year in a row. Alex, right in the very front row. I'm very glad to see it. Hi, welcome. Let's get into it. So let's start with getting visibility about what matters most. And this is where our Focus app comes in. Focus is your central hub for strategic planning. Focus turns strategies that live in static slides and spreadsheets into living, breathing strategy. It gives you the flexibility to use your own planning hierarchy. Of course, your own terminology, like in this example, line of business strategies, followed by department strategies and execution priorities. Where goals, work, teams and funds and updates all associated with these focus areas are brought together in this one view. And here you're seeing the central AI focus area at Atlassian. And I promise it is demo data, do not read too much into it. Now, let's take a beat to highlight some really powerful connections powered by our teamwork graph. First, Focus connects to our Goals app. Goals are a critical part of the Atlassian platform and they connect across the entire system of work. So you can see how they ladder up to a focus area all across your business. Not only can you see how they ladder up, you can also see with a single click the latest auto-generated OKR review for this focus area right in Confluence. Getting additional context on trends, those really important month-on-month changes, all without leaving Focus. So everyone is in the loop on what impact these focus areas or priorities are driving towards. Second, Focus lets you see that critical work that's being done to achieve these goals. Projects and programs that are tracked in Jira or Align, they automatically roll up to the right focus area, so you can see overall execution priority in real time. Third, Focus also connects to our talent and teams apps, so you can see how positions, people, departments, and teams align to each of those organizational priorities or focus areas. And last but not least, it also connects to third-party systems, so you can see the investments that are tied to each of these focus areas. Now, thanks to Rovo, I can get a meaningful summary of this focus area. What needs my attention, what's off track, and why? All along with recommended solutions. Here I can see I've got a shortage of engineering talent, and that's delaying some of my project timelines. So I know that I've got some digging to do there on how to fill this talent gap. So now we have visibility in this new era using Focus as your central hub to see goals, work, teams, and funds connected to your strategic priorities or focus areas. Now let's set our sights on how you move from seeing to insight to action. So we know we've got this talent gap. Let's go and solve it. First, let's acknowledge talent planning today is really messy. It's fragmented, it's outdated, and it's really painful in tech-driven companies in particular, where priorities shift faster than my 6-year-old's attention span. And that's a problem because people are our most important asset. Most organizations, they can't answer the critical question, where are our people in relation to our top priorities? And how quickly can we redeploy the right people when things change, as they inevitably do? Traditional HRIS tools, they weren't designed for this. They show org charts and they show job titles. That's all really valuable information, but not who's actually doing the work that matters. And that's why we built Talent. Talent is our new knowledge workforce planning app that gives you instant visibility into who's working on what, how this aligns to your strategies or your focus areas, and where you can make these smart reallocations. We start in talent by defining positions, and then we map these to our focus areas or the strategic priorities of your organization, however you've defined them. Then we connect different people to these positions. And this way you can clearly see who in your organization is working on these most important priorities, where the gaps are, and where you can make the right trade-offs. We built the talent app initially just for ourselves. And every time we shift focus, we double down, we reallocate teams, at Atlassian, talent is how we do it. So to make this real, let me show you how we use talent again, and I promise it is all dummy data. So with talent, I can see things for a specific engineering leader. Let's say Veronica, like the number of positions that she has allocated to her. I can also see positions that are filled or unfilled. And right away, I get some pretty interesting insights. I can see that 11% of Veronica's positions are not filled yet. So she can see she's got some hiring to do. Below this, there's even more great insights. I can see things like the tenure of Veronica's organization, the job level distribution. Veronica has a high number of people with 1 or less years of experience, and they're also in mid-level positions. I can also see where people are located across different countries and different time zones, and this helps me get a really clear idea of overlapping teamwork hours, which is something that's really important to us at Atlassian. So now, let's say that Veronica is responsible for this off-track central AI initiative that needs a specific profile of senior engineering talent. Veronica can look at other focus areas that she manages, and she can spot those that seem pretty well staffed and also are on track, so she can potentially identify the right people which she may be able to reallocate. She can drill in, and she can see the names of the people who filled these positions, their job title, the sub-focus areas that they've been allocated to, down the hierarchy that's been defined, as well as their managers, tenure, and other details that might be relevant. To save time, Veronica can use Rovo to find that senior engineering talent that she needs in a specific region. And after a quick prompt, Rovo gives her this solid starting point of 31 folks that she can now go back to her team and start to talk about potential reallocations. But looking at this list of folks and thinking about those discussions are bound to bring up another important trade-off consideration: the funding. Now, think about the last time you were responsible for a really big initiative. It started off great, and deadlines got a bit fuzzy, the team seemed stretched, some other stuff like popped up out of nowhere, and before you knew it, the priority was off track. Very often, it comes down to understanding, did you fund that priority appropriately in the first place? Most organizations don't have a consolidated view of all the funding tied to their focus areas or strategic priorities, so they struggle to spot these problems and, of course, course correct fast. So that's why I'm excited to introduce our new funds view in focus. This is where you can easily see your strategic investments and costs. Unlike with static spreadsheets, you now get a real-time view of your labor as well as your non-labor investments. Think infrastructure, technology, and services, all tied to these focus areas and sub-focus areas. Here in Focus, you can see the overall spend versus the actual budget, the spend breakdown by labor and non-labor costs, spending trends, which are really important, and even a breakdown of all of the sub-focus areas that are associated. And note, you'll also see these labor costs right in talent. So let's imagine we want to move forward with moving talent to central AI. Again, with a quick prompt, Rovo tells me that labor spend has been flat quarter over quarter for engineering. Even though I know that we budgeted more, the money's there, hasn't quite yet converted into that capacity that we need. So now I know we've got headcount and funding available. I can now take action on this. And I bet many of you agree the process to move funding and headcount can be an absolute headache. Many organizations, they set their budgets at the start of the year, and then, it's kind of fingers crossed, hope for the best from there. But we know that's not enough. your planning process needs to be more dynamic. And that's where strategic events, a new capability and focus, comes into play. A strategic event is what we define as a meaningful moment in time, where technology and business leaders need to make changes to their priorities, including their goals, their talent allocation, or their funding needs. And these can be planned events like your annual planning, half-yearly or quarterly planning cycles like we run here at Atlassian. Or they can be urgent, unplanned events, maybe reacting to a new competitive threat or a sudden technology disruption. And when these events happen, how do you know where to move people or funds from and to? What about the impact to the goals that were being worked on? Today, most organizations, they handle this process with a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of meetings, and a whole lot of program managers who are left trying to stitch it all together and probably summarize it into a nice PowerPoint slide. And that's why we built this new capability. It provides a structured, action-oriented workflow to review, then accept, reject, or defer proposals across your organization at any one time. So let me show you how we use it again. And third time lucky, I promise it's still demo data. What we're looking at here is a quarterly planning cycle at Atlassian. So right up the top, you can see a summary of the number of proposals that have been submitted, along with what's already been improved or may need further review. We can see the number of proposed positions, both new and moved from other priorities, as well as the requested funding. And I can scan all of the groups of proposals for this particular cycle, sorted by their portfolios or the highest level of impact. I can also see the details of these specific proposals, and in this case, a proposal to move as well as add headcount for funding for this off-track AI focus area. And thanks to smart links powered by the Teamwork Graph, I can see additional details, like the business case for this proposal, and I can see it right in Confluence, along with the goals tied to this proposal to understand the trade-offs of those strategic outcomes. Now, after some quick internal discussions, I can approve this proposal right in focus and then systematically roll out that set of changes. So we can get that off-track focus area back on track with new funding and our reallocated headcount. It's pretty cool, right? So with that, I'd love to welcome Monica back to the stage to talk about the final requirement in this new era.
Awesome. Thank you, Bree. Well, now, as Bree said, and I hope we can all agree, our people are our most important asset, delivering our most important work. And so when we talk about alignment, we often hear the challenge that is called navigating that messy middle of strategy execution, where priorities collide, silos persist, and resources are truly stretched thin. So how can we organize and align the middle so it supports our success and our team's success versus sending our teams into a spiral? Well, this is the unique value of the Atlassian Teamwork Graph. Our Teamwork Graph weaves together goals, the work, the teams involved, and the resources invested, including those third-party insights. The result? Every action and decision can be mapped to strategic priorities, ensuring that your teams are aligned and moving the organization forward together. And visualizing the strategic goals aligned to that work is critical. And that's the power of the Align app. Align gives your organizations the predictability you can trust and the velocity you can measure, connecting portfolios of portfolios and thousands of people across multiple Jira deployments, as well as Azure DevOps. Align gives leaders unmatched visibility into the work the teams need to do, can do, and are doing, all by eliminating those unnecessary surprises. So now I'm very excited to welcome Colton from CNA Insurance onto stage today to share his story of how they're doing just that. CNA Insurance is at the forefront of embracing the living strategy era, propelled by the Atlassian Strategy Collection. In fact, they are early adopters of what you just saw Bree walk us through. So with that, please welcome Colton Kosiak from CNA Insurance to the stage. Welcome, Colt. So excited to have you.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to Team. So kind of before we dive in, I think it would be great for everybody to hear a little bit about what is CNA Insurance, what do you guys do, and a little bit of what your team is responsible for today. And then take us back in time a little bit. Let's rewind the clock and talk about how was strategic planning and work planning done at CNA back in the day? What was working for you and what was not?
Sure,
Yeah.
we're happy to. So hi everybody, I'm Colton Kosiak. I lead up our Agile Transformation Office at CNA. That also includes all the Agile tooling, hence Atlassian, and also the Agile coaching and any of the transformational work at CNA. For our company, CNA is the 7th largest American-based commercial insurance company. We also have presence in Europe through our CNA Hardy line. And CNA is ranked the top quartile in underwriting insurance. So we're really good at managing our own risks, which is kind of funny because we have risks managed in Jira line. Yeah. And so if we go back a little bit in the journey, so a few years back before we really got into Jira Line, we were doing a lot of our PI planning and execution, just the old school manual way, trying to aggregate everything out of Jira, trying to move it back into Excel sheets to then build out these really complex reports that ended up going into BI systems. We were taking those extracts, putting those into PowerPoints, and then eventually we get to the point of scheduling the meeting with leadership. A week later, we'd have that meeting, and we'd be sitting down with the leaders talking about this amazing status update, and they would look at us like we're crazy because they already heard about something earlier in today that showed them that the status was old. And so we just kind of really knew at that point the data was always stale, and we were just doing a lot of ineffective and inefficient processes, so something had to change.
Yeah, once again, not alone. Yeah. So what was that aha moment that you had that you knew there was a better way? And what was it about strategy collection that you felt could offer you that better way?
Oh, definitely. So, I already covered at least one of them right there, but the lack of transparency coming out of the data and the staleness of the data and the speed to collect that data and put it back into the PowerPoint and presentations was just definitely an issue for us. So we just needed to find a different way that had much more faster reporting, much more real-time data, and that's always been a big thing that I've leaned on is if it's not live data, it's not real data. And then we also recognized that as we were moving into an entire agile transformation for our whole application development space, we were just going to start hitting into very complex initiatives, and we knew that we had a few things on the horizon where we're going to have multi-portfolio dependencies to where we started hitting into the hundreds the last few PI cycles, and so Jira Line's been a huge favorable for us since we brought that in. When we were looking at the tools, though, we did look at all the competitors. I'm not going to lie.
That's fair.
But, we did take an honest look at everything, and we recognized keeping everything in the family was going to be a very important thing for us. We didn't want to have that contextual switching between Jira tools and the different competitor tools. So we knew having everything continuously flowing in the system was going to be very important for us to get that better synchronization and better capabilities. And then we also kind of were paying attention how Atlassian was managing some of Jira and some of the other tools, about just seeing the huge amount of investment that started coming in the last few years, and just recognizing that Jira Line was next on the docket, and we can kind of start seeing some of the big improvements finally over the years of things actually changing. So we were ready to kind of jump in. as a leader, I noticed that there was a lot of amazing reporting right out of the box. I just have my teams in there. We get through PI planning, and immediately day one of the PI, I already kind of know if like where we're at, what's the big picture. Did someone start sneaking in a bunch of overload into the system that could be throwing us off? And so it was much more real time,
Yeah.
which was amazing for us. When I start looking at some of the current states of where we're at, it took us about 7 months to roll into the Jira Line journey for about 15 portfolios. We did do that at quite a fast pace, which was very fast. But we wanted to move that fast to get everyone into Jira Line because we knew if we slow stepped in, we weren't going to get the full value and the full capability of having a cross-portfolio monitoring capability and planning. And so having everything interconnected very quickly was a key success for me and the team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so the great thing is we eliminated Excel.
Yep.
We got rid of some of those complex reports, and now everything is live and right there in the system. So you open it up, we're all speaking the same language. We also went into trying to take a look at some of the new content that you guys rolled out with some of the future capabilities.
Yeah.
And so being able to take some alignment to where our resources are doing work is also going to be pivotal for us as we're thinking about launching all these massive new initiatives, making sure that our critical resources, if I think I have 300 people working on something, I should see 300 people working on it. But if I start seeing 10 or 20 starting to drift somewhere differently, I can pull them back in and make sure that we're focused on the right stuff. And the same thing with our critical resources, making sure that those allocations are consistent because we have certain resources, we have them on X, we see them drifting to Y, and then all of a sudden you found out in the backlog they were working on A, B, and C as well. And you're just like, well, why is nothing moving? Well, it's because the critical resource we really needed to was on 12 things, but we only knew from a management that they were on the one. And then the last thing, the strategic events. It seems to be a small hitter right now, but I think it's going to be absolutely massive across everybody who takes advantage of focus. It's going to be our way that we're going to get our leadership at the executive level introduced into Atlassian to where it's no longer going to be a team level sport. It's going to be the entire company-wide initiative. And so being able to get them in with a simple UI, fast feedback, things that matter to them, and then connecting those business cases directly into the strategy is going to be pivotal for us to be able to fully see everything together.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of great feedback on the strategic events, from today. So I know you guys are still early days, but what are you seeing, what improvements are you seeing already from centralizing your strategic planning and your work planning motion? Yeah.
Oh, great question. So we're seeing definitely a lot more alignment. So we're able to actually connect that strategy now from what our leadership has directly from the executive level, directly to our team members, so that way they know how they're contributing to the bigger success of CNA. We also have that complete visibility now, being able to start understanding how does that work actually tie in to the strategy, what's the success patterns, who's drifting, where the risks and dependencies are coming in, because it's all on one splash page that's simple enough for the leadership to start actually pulling in for themselves, and being it's all part of the same connection, it's all live data, and so they can self-serve as well, which is amazing. One of my favorite aspects, though, is the ability to actually use the same business language that they created with their business cases. A lot of times we transfer it to technology, and then all of a sudden it becomes a foreign language for our business partners, and then we have to retranslate backwards, and we forgot what they said, and they don't understand us. So I look at it as one language unified to us with that business strategy that's able to help do that crossroads between the business and technology language barrier, because it's just creating a very simple system for us all. And then with all the dependencies managed, everything else that's happening in the system, we're able to finally get things out of not being in teams for dependencies, not being in emails, and so we're able to just manage it all in one system. And so we're now seeing hundreds of dependencies being managed, PI over PI, and now we can actually see that, validate that the dependency is heard and being managed versus us just taking care of it individually. From a personal return on investment for my team-wise, we've been able to sustain due to our simple structures in Jira and the Jira Align implementation. We still have only 2 admins for our entire system for about 3,000 users across both Jira, Confluence, and Jira Align. The Jira line implementation helped us actually move about 50% of our coaches to more strategic work. So instead of being team level coaches, we've been able to move them into more strategic efforts, which has been fantastic. And then we've been leveraging automation like crazy at CNA. So we're running about 1.2 to 1.5 million a year, and we've been able to cost justify that to about $3.5 million annually, which is huge.
Yeah.
So we're just getting started.
Yeah. Woo! Love it, right? Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Okay, so looking ahead for everyone, tell us a little bit of what's next. I hear you're a big Rovo fan, so are you going to get some Rovo teammates in there? What's the plan there?
Yeah, of course. I think now that we're seeing everything starting to get interconnected from the leadership strategy, from the executives all the way down to team level, I think Rovo's going to help connect all of that, but then it's also going to give a lot more purpose for our new folks that join CNA. So anyone from an intern to the senior veteran that has been there for years, they're going to really be able to connect the value of what they're producing at work to what's the value that's producing for CNA. And I think that's really important when we think about our younger generations of how are they contributing to the company.
Yeah.
We're now actually able to show them this small piece of work that you're doing leans all the way up to this executive strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at Rovo, I mean, I was so amazed today when I was looking at some of the new capabilities. I'm excited to go home and start plugging away.
Right.
But I think it's huge. I think Copilot's great, but the amount of copy and pasting you have to do, it's just not the same. It's not in the flow, not in the work with your teams. The automation capabilities, the teamwork graph really seems like it's going to perpetuate Rovo into the next capabilities. So I'm really excited to kind of see where that lands us and where it continues to go. But we're really hoping that as we look forward with some of the AI, it's going to help us with some of the challenges to create some of the new strategy conflicts with the existing work to help us with the prioritization. I think that's going to be a really key thing when we're looking at big, broad picture efforts. And then, I think it's also going to be turning into a two-way prep. So as we're thinking about all the interconnected information now that Rovo has access to, I'm walking to a Scrum of Scrums or a portfolio leadership sync meeting, leadership's going to be able to ask questions to Rovo, and I'm also going to be able to ask questions to Rovo, and so is the RTE. And so now we're going to have this really crazy conversation of all the status is already done before I walk in the door, and now we can actually talk about the good things of where do you need help and how can I help you, versus spending a lot of time just talking about status.
Yeah. No. It's incredible. It's exciting where we're seeing Rovo go. Yeah, and even just across this event, all the new. Yeah.
Definitely.
So bring us home, kind of in closing to wrap up for everybody. I would love your biggest piece of advice, because I know many of you in the audience here, or even viewing online, are on a similar journey and at various points. So what advice do you have for those that are embarking on doing what you've just done?
Definitely.
Yeah.
You mind if I have 3?
3's great.
All
yeah,
right.
Go for it.
So I would plan to have create a culture of change and a culture of success to go with that change, to anchor your entire journey on. If you do this, the change fatigue kind of goes away. People are excited for all the change you're introducing. And if you're consistently introducing the change, everyone kind of leans in on it versus pushing back. Try to also solve a problem when you're introducing the new tools. Don't just do it because it's the big fancy thing. Do it because it's going to solve a company problem that your leadership is looking for, and they're going to be bought in to help you bring it to the company and to help lead the initiative to actually drive the work. And then the last thing, take each piece forward for the problem that you're trying to solve. It doesn't matter if you get told no out of the gate. If there's a small chunk that you can still move forward because it's going to create a value for the company, no one's going to tell you that you did the wrong decision. So a slow journey is still a journey at the end of the day, so one step at a time.
Yeah, every journey begins with just one step, right? Isn't
Yep.
that what they say? Yeah. That was incredible. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Colton. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Yes, that was great. Woo. Well, as I said, incredible. And what you've seen here today is how strategy collection, together with our system of work, has helped CNA Insurance and can help all of you get the visibility across what matters most, confidently move from insight into action, and gain and maintain that alignment by connecting every priority to the goals, the work, the talent, and the funds that are supporting it. And because this is all built on the Atlassian cloud platform, you stay connected to every level of your organization, so you can lead with clarity and accelerate that business success easily. So now, I encourage all of you to ponder for a second, how can Strategy Collection help my organization today? Well, if you want to answer that question further and you didn't get enough out of this session, I do encourage all of you to come visit our booth demo upstairs, or if you're watching online, to stop by Atlassian.com and check out our latest demos. So thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great rest of team.